When you look at a spreadsheet full of revenue data, it seems pretty straightforward. Numbers go up, good. Numbers go down, bad. But so often, the real story, the one that can totally change your business, is hiding just underneath the surface. So today, we're going to crack the code on one hotel's pricing strategy to find out what's really going on.
All right, so imagine you're a revenue manager. You come into work, you open up your dashboard, and bam, you see this, a 12.4% jump in total revenue. I mean, that's a fantastic number. Your daily rate is up, your revenue per room is up, everything is looking great.
You're feeling pretty good about this, right? This is the number you can't wait to show off in the weekly management meeting. It's a clear win, but is it the best win you could have gotten?
What if that big, beautiful number was actually covering up some pretty serious problems? What if you were leaving a whole lot of money on the table and you didn't even know it? Well, that's where our story really begins.
Okay, so let's peel back the layers and look beyond that big top-line number. Because having a strong overall growth figure is great, but it often hides a story of wild extremes, these huge peaks and deep valleys. Real success isn't just about the final number. It's about making the most of every single day.
And this, right here, shows you the problem perfectly. On the weekends, this hotel is absolutely crushing it. We're talking 92.5% occupancy. But then, Monday morning rolls around and the place becomes a ghost town. Occupancy just nosedives to 42.5%. It's a total roller coaster, and the real challenge is managing these massive swings.
So how do you handle that weekend peak? Well, the data suggests this really clever two-part strategy. First, as soon as the hotel hits 70% occupancy, the system says, okay, time for a 15% price hike. Why? Because demand is clearly there, so you can capture more value. Second, you add a minimum stay requirement. This is so important because it stops one-night stays from breaking up your valuable weekend, and it helps push some of that demand into the slower shoulder nights.
Okay, now what about that midweek slump? The temptation is to just slash prices across the board, but that can really hurt your brand in the long run. So instead, the AI recommends a much smarter play. Launch targeted flash sales, but only for your standard rooms, and you make those rates non-refundable to lock in the cash. That way, you fill the empty beds without cheapening your premium rooms. And this brings us to the most dramatic part of the whole story. See, it's easy to follow a plan when things are looking good. But what happens when the data tells you to do something that feels completely wrong? When you have to trust the machine over your own screaming gut instinct to panic? Just picture it. It's 4 days before a huge weekend, you're looking at the numbers, and you are way, way behind where the AI says you should be. 56 bookings short. Every single instinct in your body is screaming, drop the price, we need to fill these rooms now.
And this is what that feels like in cold, hard cash. You are staring down a massive revenue gap. The pressure is on. This is that moment of truth where most people would crack and just throw the strategy out the window. But this is where the AI becomes your calm, rational co-pilot. While your gut is screaming discount, the AI is looking at thousands of data points and says, nope, hold the line. It sees a pattern in the market that predicts a huge last-minute surge of bookings. It knows something you don't. So what's the secret? Well, the AI understands this key industry concept called market compression. Basically, it's when there's super high demand for just a few remaining rooms in the entire city. All your competitors are selling out, and suddenly, you're one of the last hotels with rooms available. This gives you incredible pricing power, but only if you have the nerve to wait for it. And the payoff for that nerve, for holding the line, it's perfect. On the day of arrival, that huge revenue gap has completely vanished. The last-minute demand came in exactly like the AI predicted. And because the hotel didn't panic sell those rooms at a discount, they captured all of that incredibly valuable, high-priced, last-minute business. So we know the strategy worked beautifully, but the much bigger question is, why did it work? To really get good at this stuff, you have to go deeper. You have to understand the psychology of your guests, what's actually driving their decisions. That's the real key. It all comes down to a core economic idea called price elasticity. It sounds a little academic, but it's actually pretty simple. It's just a way of measuring how much your guests actually care about price. If they're highly elastic, a small discount can create a huge flood of bookings. If they're not, well, changing the price doesn't really move the needle. Now, this is where it gets really cool, because not all guests are the same. Look at this table. The people booking standard rooms, they are super sensitive to price. For them, the AI strategy is all about aggressive dynamic pricing.
But the guests booking the premium rooms, they're totally different. They're motivated by the brand or the experience, not the price tag. So for them, the winning strategy is to hold that price firm. Discounting a luxury suite doesn't win you a new customer, it just costs you money. So here's the really brilliant part. The AI actually builds in a safeguard to protect you from yourself. It creates this guardrail that literally stops any automatic discounts from happening in that critical final week. This prevents the hotel from giving away rooms for cheap to those last-minute travelers, who, as the data proved, were more than willing to pay the full rate.
When you step back and look at everything we've just walked through, you start to see the new rules of revenue taking shape. This is about more than just a few clever tactics. It's a fundamental shift in thinking. It's about moving away from reacting to problems based on your gut and moving toward a proactive strategy that's driven by data.
And honestly, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? The old way of thinking was just fill the rooms no matter the cost, even if that meant massive discounts. But the new, smarter mindset is all about maximizing the value of every single room. It's not about being 100% full, it's about being 100% profitable. So that leaves us with one last question, and it's a really important one. When you look at your own business, is your pricing strategy truly built on a deep understanding of data and customer psychology? Or is it built on habit, on just doing things the way they've always been done? Because the answer to that question could be the difference between just growing and truly maximizing what's possible.